to smash it out and then catch a train, I think. So
Right. I thought you would also appreciate the bump there. Oh, quick, hi people on Patreon. Quick work question. Do I actually need to go to Maine?
oh really?
Okay, maybe I
But if you're
won't.
sitting around
Maine?
doing nothing, then you should.
I mean, I
Oh.
have like one class to South, but
Oh, I thought you were saying Maine. I was like,
No,
what the
Maine is
hell?
Maine's
like
a
the
nice
main
state.
school.
Maine's an maybe I'll well fine. We'll see. Yeah, maybe I'll bop
Like
in a
you were
little later
asking the
though.
Patreon. I was like, you're
I'm
asking
asking
the
the
Patreon
patron.
if you
They
need to
go to
go to the
Maine.
state of Maine in the United States.
Go to Acadia
Anyway,
National Park. It's really nice. Hi, James.
okay.
Hey,
Hi.
listeners, write in which American state should we visit, and which one should we avoid?
I think Maine's a good one to visit.
George is going to be on the avoid list.
Let's see. I think we're at number 70 if I'm correct. I'll double check. Number 70, that's correct.
In at number 70, it's a film um called
Your name is Luke.
um
We'll just keep doing that for a while. Your
Yeah, we'll
name
just all commit to different bits. Hey, I've been inside of you, listeners, and you don't know it.
is Your name is Mark.
My name's Mark.
I've been inside of at least one listener.
We don't talk about that.
Your name is James coming back. What was the last one you were here for? Something
Uh,
The Legend of Chun-Li, I think.
Oh
Oh no,
yeah.
no, we did
No,
do
no,
we
crossover for
did,
Mononoke.
Mononoke, the good
we did
one. Yeah.
Mononoke. Yeah. So I've been
Right,
around
okay.
for a good film, at least.
Yeah.
You brought
Yes,
me
yes.
for some.
Yeah,
some
you're
good
tipping the
times.
scales
Well,
in the good direction.
Films and Filth. You're on the good list today. Yeah, you know what? Your name is pretty much it's definitely in my top 20 personally, so it's not high enough on this list for me. I like this movie.
Top 20 of all time, period.
I think I might put it on my like personal straight up top 20 list. Yeah.
Nice.
Why did I see it? I think I just saw it. I didn't see it in theaters because I didn't want to watch it in pure Japanese, and I think you maybe need some subtitles for this one. You can't just follow it. Um, but I saw it shortly after it came on to home video. So, is this? Well, let's bump over to Mark. Have you experienced Your Name before? Have you been inside of this movie?
First time I knew I wanted to see it, I didn't realize that it was quite what it was, which is good. That's always, I like surprises.
Okay, good. What did you think it was?
I guess I thought it was, I knew it was something kind of metaphysical. Like I thought maybe it would be like an another Earth situation in it or a Groundhog Day situation, but it's like a Freaky Friday, but also a fountain, Freaky
Yeah,
Friday fountain,
cosmic psychedelic
an
Freaky Friday.
interstellar kind of.
Luke, let's bump the ball into your box.
I remember it coming out. It was before I moved to Japan, and like a bunch of my weeb friends were really into it. But like, you got to remember the reason we do this podcast is because I don't watch films that aren't about robots and dinosaurs and stuff. And I definitely don't watch animes that aren't about robots and dinosaurs and stuff. So like there was no way I was watching this film back in 2016. Like I vaguely knew that it was about the Freaky Friday element, but that was all I knew about it. And since then I've seen probably all of this film playing on a TV at work that I'm not paying attention to because it was one of the DVDs the kids would watch for a long time. But no, my first time watching it was last night.
Okay. Yeah, this is actually my fourth or fifth viewing of the movie, so I bet this is a regular rewatch for me. James, you're here for the anime, you're here for the movie. What's your story, man?
I hadn't seen this before either, so I'm in the same boat as Luke. Again, it did the name of the film has been around. If you look up top anime films, it's going to come up on the list at some point as a recommended watch. And I don't know why it's just passed me by over the years. It's just never taken my fancy. I think what I knew of the film before going into it was I knew about the Freaky Friday body swap stuff that goes on, and I think in my head I had that conflated as, oh, it's like a pure rom-com. It's like it's more a comedy in the vein like a Freaky Friday as opposed to a more poignant touching story, as we'll get onto that. But yeah, first viewing, and I don't know if I'd rate it as highly as yourself, Matt, but it was bloody good. It was bloody good. I can say that much.
Well, I mean, it's like the Star Trek episodes I like the best are always like the mind bleepery ones, like the Enterprise explodes at every credit or every commercial break. I love that kind of thing. So this touches that button, and then like you said, it seems kind of like a light story, and then kind of the key turns right about halfway through, and it's like suddenly really heavy. So I like that. That's like a good Twilight Zone twist, right?
Yeah, the twist that happens, which I'm sure we'll get onto as we chat about the film, that's when I locked in. I was like, oh, okay, this is what the film's about. And like the enjoyment levels ramped up higher and higher.
I think this is great, but none of you will be that surprised to hear that the whatever is going on kind of breaks my brain and it makes me insane because it feels kind of like they want to invoke a god or something, but it's convenient, but that's not the worst thing in the world, but that's not one of my favorite things. But I don't know. But at the same time, I don't want the unhappy ending. When I thought that she was gonna die, I was like, no, fuck this movie. I was like mad for a minute. So
keep in mind though, you're mentioning the god, and gods are a very different thing in Japan.
That's
so
exactly what I was going to say,
we're
Matt.
willing
Yeah.
to give it lots of wiggle room.
right, the comet is the god, right? Like that's a Japanese thing, maybe, or it's the Saki underground, or I don't know.
Well, it's all loomed together. It's like a giant loom.
Translating kami to god is like not really good translation. Like most experts now try and just like get people to use the word kami in English because it's such a different concept to how we think. It's like
it's the green guy who lives in a tower who used to be merged with Piccolo. That's who it is.
I appreciate that reference.
Like,
but like this mountain is a god and this tree is a god and also this rock is a god. But like, it's not like what we mean when we say the Christian God, and it's not even what we mean when we say like Greek gods. It's more like, I don't know, like the Force.
Yeah, there's no consciousness
it's
running
the Force
this game.
combined with like Pokemon.
of course.
The Pokemon Force. That sounds good. Well, I will go ahead and give that summary for this particular flick.
Hey, Patreons, this bit's just for you. I'm touching myself throughout this whole podcast.
Okay, so now that that's done, so you said this, Luke, you were saying like no robots or dinosaurs. I think this has the zing zang of something that would have robots and dinosaurs. It's got a comet.
Once I watched it, I was into it. Like it had a bit more going on than I'd imagined from just the trailers.
Okay, because yeah, I guess it's just a thing if you hadn't watched it. I'm trying to remember.
I thought it was going to be way more like slice of life with a slight supernatural element than it actually was.
Yeah, that was my
impression.
Yeah,
like I guess you know what? I think I watched this the first time right at about the point it became like super easy to download movies and things, and it was just like, here's the big movie of the year. I guess I'll watch it, which turned out to be right up my alley. So maybe that's why I watched it so much earlier. Just a weird confluence of events. I showed this one to my folks when they visited last year because we were rolling around in the mountains of Nagano, and like we went to Suwa City, which is a much bigger city than oh god, what's in it? Itamori, but it's based on it with a giant lake and there's a city around it. So we went there. So I was like, geez, I should show them this movie just for that, if nothing else.
Do you mean Suwa?
Yeah, Suwa. Did I say Saku?
Apparently, it is somewhat based on Suwa.
Yes, that's right. Just some place in Gifu. The train station near my house looks exactly like the little podunk one they stop at in this movie.
When Luke says Suwa, it sounds like someone saying sewer because I expect his accent. So I'm like, it sounds to me like you're saying sewer.
SUWA, Suwa.
It's like that.
Oh, I thought it was SUA.
It's like, was it DOS FX where they'd just be Suwa all the time when they meant the sewer? Suwa style, and then maybe.
Yes, that is how accents work.
That's what DOS FX did. Like half their songs are called.
They were like wiggity 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 sewer sewer siggity siggity sewer.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yes, but it's in the song titles. I bought that's when I got one of their
Oh.
CDs for 50 yen a few months ago, and I noticed it took me a minute to figure out what they were doing, and it was kind of stupid actually.
Yeah, I don't think that style got very far. Like our younger friends on this podcast probably have no idea what the fuck we're talking about.
Wonderfully forgotten rap, right?
Yeah, 1992, 1993. That's about it.
Okay. Your name, yes.
Your name. Yeah, this I did get kind of annoyed that I'm like nobody looked at a calendar once, but I guess they were all having a dream state.
But also,
So,
yeah, and also, how often do you just like
all the time,
double check the year you're in?
constantly.
All right, Kyle Reese.
I
Look,
do.
I mean, he's got
Come
his
with me if you want to live. Okay?
diary, right? He was checking
Yeah.
the diary on the phone throughout. So I guess if you think too deeply into it, he's like,
Yeah, I think
you're on that as he was checking
Yeah.
the diary. But
the film gets away with stuff by just like making it all a little bit dreamy.
It would have worked better if it was something like they specifically spaced it out like however that works, 6 or 8 years where the days of the
So
week
the
were
days
the
are the
same.
same.
But I guess
Mhm.
then there would be an age difference and it'd be weird.
Well, even 3 years, there should have been more of an age difference than there actually was when they met each other.
Well, yeah, and like you
Yeah.
would be like, why do I have an iPhone 8? Like
So,
what?
like, oh no, that's fine because everyone in Japan has an old ass phone,
Well, good for them. That's
especially high
great.
school kids.
I think we all upgraded this year.
Dude, I just spent like 30 minutes smashing my head against the wall just trying to get my stupid photos to sync with iOS 18, which I don't know if it's a bug or if it's like if I'm stupid or old
No,
now.
it's
but,
a feature because they want you to buy a new phone.
well, good for them.
All right.
I'm
think
going to flip phone. Fuck this shit.
I think I've been on record on this podcast before for having dreams that I conflate with reality with erroneous electronic information. Just before waking up for this, I checked the dream phone and it was only at 33% battery. Oh no. But it's actually at like 98% battery. There was that week
Did you
a few
get a
months.
call from
What you
boys?
don't know, listeners, there's that in Matt's head, 98% battery is also oh no. And he's going to arrive to work and immediately plug his phone in.
No, I finally got over that thing.
Matt,
I
you
finally
know
got
that
over
is bad. You know that's bad. You need
Yeah, I
to
finally
keep your
got
phone
over it.
between 40 and 80%, or the battery is going to tank.
I have a nice new iPhone 14, and I've not been. I've been waiting at least for that one to get to like 55 before I do anything about it.
Okay, that's acceptable.
There we go. And then what was it? A few months ago, I spent an entire week thinking George Lucas was dead because I read that news article in my dream.
Yeah, all my dreams are either like I'm just hanging out and loitering and doing nothing, or like there was a dream where I had a very realistic dream that a friend of mine accused another friend of mine of sexual assault. And it was like really harrowing and sad. And then I woke up, I was like, oh God, I feel terrible now.
That makes so much sense for me because I know that's the kind of film you like as well. But I want the most
Well,
depressing dreams.
no, I mean, I honestly, I mean, whatever it is, I do have a lot of friends tell me about like trauma that they've experienced. I guess I am concerned or something. I come across as I am concerned.
You're a listener.
It's like, yeah, I am a
You
listener.
should take
So
that
it's
as a
like,
compliment, I think.
yes, but also
Yeah, it's also a lot
been
of
a lot
emotional
of
labor, yeah.
it's been a lot, yes, and that's totally fine if you're listening to this. I've dumped emotional labor on a lot of other people lately, so it's all's fair. But in that moment, it was like, oh man, I really don't want to think about person A who I am not super close friends with attacking my friend who I am super close friends with, but it was just a dream because I probably ate like fast food or something.
I very rarely remember my dreams. I probably once in like a couple of months I have a dream that I remember past waking up. And then it's usually something really dumb, like it'll just be the most common one I used to get. I haven't had it in a long time. Would just be like, "Oh, I'm back in England." That was the nightmare that I would wake up in a
nightmare.
cold set.
Yeah, I've mostly stopped having going back home dreams. So I guess that's what happens is when you mess off for more than a decade.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I had for a long time, I don't know. This kind of hasn't happened lately, but it has happened within the past year. Like when I visit Matt in Japan, I would have anxiety dreams where I was like visiting Matt in Japan and couldn't get back or something. Like I get to the airport
Isn't
and I
that a
can't.
good thing?
That's the dream.
No, I'm one of those people. I'm like I get real anxious if think I'm gonna miss a flight or something. So it's like that's just
No, I
but
often
yeah,
have those
it's
I
stress
used to
dreams where
have
I'm
a lot of
that
times.
almost like a superpower where like if I had like some homework due or something, I would have a dream about forgetting it, which was how I would remember to do it that morning. Just like am I actually having like prophetic dreams of me forgetting to take my PE kit or whatever? I didn't have one
Yeah.
for 9/11.
Oh man, never had a
I
9/11 dream. Maybe
I
I will
often have
tonight.
I have to get across town or something for a class or for something for a plane or something. I did have yeah.
Anyway, this has
So
become a podcast where we're talking about our dreams, so
yes,
let's move on from that.
Yeah, true.
I've got a weird question.
It's
Jay, have you seen Digimon Adventure 02, the beginning?
I have not. No, I've only seen
Ah,
OG Digimon Adventure and the War Game special. But
we I did kind of want to compare that to this because that is an interesting parallel as they're probably we're not going to do a lot of anime that isn't Miyazaki on here probably. So it's an interesting comparison. I can't compare it to Perfect Blue because that's pretty much apples and oranges. But
Yeah. One thing I did. So almost the whole first half of this film, I was asking myself, like, why is this animated? Because it's just two teenagers doing normal things. Like, it could have been a live action film very easily. And also, I was comparing it to Digimon specifically because one thing this film does, which actually does annoy me, it has a couple of actual brands in it, and then
yeah,
everything else does the fake, not real brands. And that just makes it so obvious which ones have paid to be in the film.
Oh, I
yes,
like weird
Boss
fake
Coffee
brands.
has got his.
Oh, that's it. Like
I support
I
weird
love
fake
weird
brands.
fake brands. Digimon does it all the time where they're shopping at like Family Mate and eating at Burger Queen and stuff like that.
But the
Like
funny
just
thing is,
commit to doing that. Don't have like five of those and then an actual Boss Coffee can in super close up lovingly animated detail.
but the funny thing is people in the West who haven't had Boss Coffee probably would think it was a fake brand because the
Yeah,
first time
yeah.
I saw it, I was like, "What the hell is this?" It's like a guy. Like what's
Sometimes that
going
guy's
on?
Tommy Lee Jones, if you're lucky.
The one they drank was
Yeah,
my favorite one as well, the Boss Rainbow Blend. But the
first
supermarket
time
I
I've
went to
been.
yesterday didn't have the 6 packs of those, so I'm drinking a Georgia coffee Emerald Mountain.
Mm.
uh,
Georgia, because it's
Mm,
made by Coca-Cola, but only sold in
good.
Japan. We're waiting for a check from the Coca-Cola Corporation.
I'm drinking Sam's Club brand water. This costs $4 for 24 bottles.
I thought you were going to say for a bottle, and I was going to be like, Jesus.
I mean,
Wow,
depending
I
on
inflation.
where
knew
you
there's a
are.
cost of living crisis.
Inflation. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
live
if there are places you can go where it will be, unfortunately.
in...
Probably not anywhere I can afford to go, like a football game or something. But
Now we
uh,
do have the happy drink stores. That's with all those vending machines, by the way. There's a sign, and I think it's in the movie in Japanese, but that says happy drink store, and they're out in the middle of nowhere. So
Yeah, I've seen one of those.
those are
Yeah.
fun to hang out with. They usually don't have the table. I guess they added the table in the movie. So
Well, you see the kids build the table.
right.
I'm sorry about the tangent, but I was reading an article about how Japan has one vending machine for every 30 people,
Yeah, I saw that stat
and
recently. I very much believe that.
I
If
went down
anything,
a
that
rabbit
seems
hole.
low.
Yeah, I went down a rabbit hole, and there's a city called Sagamihara where it's just a ton of vintage vending machines. Are you guys familiar with this at all?
No, but that sounds sick. I want to
Sounds
go.
unsurprised. There's a
It's kind
vending
of
machine
between you
cruise
guys
boat.
and Tokyo. Like
Ah,
you could get there, but I'm looking at it. There's like noodle machines and like weird rainbow colored like 60s and 70s vending
Yeah,
machines.
I think I saw a YouTube video about a couple guys that went there and just tried all the machines out. Like it looked cool. It looked cool.
we've got a
Yeah.
couple of wacky ones here in Matsumoto. There's a pizza machine.
Oh
There's
man.
a like historical Baumkuchen shop, and they have a like cake machine out the front.
Nice.
There's a place
This
that
is
sells like custard puddings, and you can buy them in bottles from a vending machine.
It's not a
this
vending machine, but they just opened about a 5 minute walk from my house. It's open 24 hours, no employees, filled with Korean ice cream.
nice.
Oh yeah, I've seen
Damn.
a few like no employee shops popping up as well now.
Yeah, so if I want Korean ice cream at 4 in
Mm,
the morning, now I'm covered.
nice. Yeah, this is my American story. There's a pizza vending machine that showed up outside of an Italian like bodega, and it sat there with a power cord like coiled behind it, not plugged in for about 3 months, and then it disappeared.
Wow, that's
Huh.
horrible. No, you can get
Yeah.
ramen from a machine. We have ramen machines now. Like for like high quality ramen, I mean.
Not
Like
like cup noodles.
not a cup of noodle, but like yeah.
Cool.
Sweet potato vending machines, tofu vending
Oh, I've seen a
machines.
bunch of those, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, yeah. The
This
vending
person
machines are getting
loves sweet
weirder in
potato.
Japan recently.
Define the sweet potato vending machine before we go any further. Like
Um
Like
what form does it come in?
like little bags of sweet potato chips or a sweet potato pie or whatever. Little trick, not just an
It's
actual
not
sweet
like a
potato.
baked sweet potato and
No,
it,
but you
like
have
the
a guy who
robot cuts
drives.
it.
You have a guy who drives around in a truck selling those, and he
Nice. Oh,
plays
I love it.
Yakimo like this, which is
and
just
then there's a
like
horrible whistle coming out because he's steaming. So it's like, and a school I used to work for, the guy would like set shop up like right outside my window, and he would piss me off to no end because I'm trying to teach with a this horrible noise going the whole time.
and I'm
All
sure when
right.
I listen to this later, I'll be able to hear that noise that cut out when Matt did it in the call.
Right. We'll use your imagination. Just think of a steam whistle whistling at the top of its lungs. Um,
So
I
that's
want.
what it's like living in the Japanese boonies in real life. But how was it depicted in 2016's Your Name?
Well,
Oh, a professional look, a professional.
It's hard to talk about good movies.
no. I think. Well, Luke, you and I don't quite live in this much boony. We can walk to this much boony if we want
Yeah, and
to,
I do.
but right, but we don't live in it, so it's a little different. I did a concert last year. It was a cabbage town, like not like Atlanta's cabbage town. It was just that's their thing. We were actually paid with a head of cabbage when we left for playing classical
Hell
music.
yeah.
All right.
Oh,
Cool.
they also gave us lunch, but yeah, it was like this town, right? I don't think they had a bookstore. They didn't have a giant lake, but the high school wind orchestra is playing, and they seem to think of me as a literal alien landing or something, because they're just so far in the boonies. They
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
that
remember back in like 2020, if I would just go hiking and end up in some random town on the outskirts of Nagano, everyone who's out doing their gardening or whatever would stop and stare at this foreigner who showed up because there were none in the country at that point in time. And
Tsumagoi,
Did
that's
you
the name
especially
of the
not
town.
wandering off in places like that.
did you flex your muscles immediately when you realized people were staring at you? Because that's what I would do if I were you.
No, but I have had like random old men come up and start like touching my muscles and asking me what I do. So that's pretty cool.
Well,
But
Oh,
so I
well,
was
don't worry. I love it.
okay, good. Yeah, I know there are people who get their tattoos touched all the time who are very
Ooh.
upset about it.
I
But yeah.
generally don't show my tattoos because I know I'm not meant to show them at work. But
Oh yeah. I didn't even know you had tattoos. I just assumed
yeah,
not, I
that's why I go
guess.
to special onsens with that I know I can get away with them.
Cool.
As far as the thing, I thought I would say it seemed pretty realistic enough. The one thing that seemed unrealistic is that festival is too big. I've been to a few like village
Yeah, in a
festivals.
village this small, the festival would be less.
Yeah.
That was a Tokyo artist drawing a festival in the village.
But that
Also, when the power cut, all the festival floats went down, but they would have been running on generators.
yes, they'd keep running.
Hmm.
Good point. Mm.
I literally turned to Mercy and said, they would be on generators.
It's become like a recurring bit that I reference Persona 4 when I talk about anime because I'm like, you guys should play Persona 4. This is yet another movie that invokes Persona 4 where a lot of the same beats. It's a small town thing. But
I love
also,
that
I don't
small town
know.
Persona. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, have any of you guys felt like I hate this town, I want to move somewhere bigger? This is
Growing
my life's
up,
stupid.
absolutely, I felt that. I lived in Wells, Somerset, the smallest city in England. It's got a population of 5,000. It's where they filmed Hot Fuzz. It only qualifies as a city because it has a cathedral. It's not a city, it's a tiny town. It doesn't have a train station. I would have to take an hour bus to the next city to get a train anywhere. We didn't have any McDonald's or anything like that. We had a subway as the extent of our fast food. We had one tiny little skate park. We had a bunch of pubs and a bunch of churches, so it was okay when I got a bit older.
There
But
was a
like,
line in the film that made me think of.
oh
I
yeah, we
actually
have
thought yeah, of
two
you, Luke.
pubs
You
for
said
some
we've got two
reason.
pubs for some reason. Yeah, yeah. And I immediately actually thought of you, Luke, and I thought, well, has probably got a few pubs.
Yeah, oh, yeah, a bunch of pubs. So yeah, once I was 18, there's a reason that I was drinking so much because all there was to do. But yeah, me and Muss always brings this up because he hated growing up there as well. In fact, he grew up in an even smaller village near our city and had to take the bus to school and stuff. Um, that we did like a school project where we were going around interviewing people, and like he was asking like, oh, should there be more in Wales for young people to do? And some old man was like, "What are you talking about? Wales is a great place to live. We've got the cathedral, we've got the church," and it's like, yeah, that's great for a single day's day trip. But growing up, I'm 16 years old. You think I'm going to go and look at the cathedral every day for? Whereas
Oh,
now I live in Matsumoto and I do genuinely go and look at Matsumoto Castle every single day because I love it. But
well, you walk out of your apartment and look left, right?
yeah.
No, I was good there. That's unrealistic when they're like two pubs. I'm like, nah, this village is big enough. They're gonna have like 5, 6, 7. They're gonna like have a
Yeah.
little street of these.
Yeah, no cafes.
Yeah. So no cafes, but they would actually have 5 or 6 of those. 2 was actually too few.
Yeah.
Because they're just,
It's
because it's not the smallest place. I mean, you can do smaller,
Also,
right?
the like being a town around a big lake like that, it probably would have grown and gained a few touristy things.
Oh yeah. Well, again, look at real life
Like
version, which
yeah,
is
so
a bustling small to medium sized city.
yeah.
but I wouldn't go as far as bustling.
Well, I think it's bustling. It seemed bustly when I went there a few months ago. Okay, when I went to the train station
There's
once,
a
it did seem
really
dead.
good pizza joint in Sewer.
Ooh,
Hmm.
tell me what that is.
Cannery Row.
Oh, that's a
I
chain.
know
They
there's a
got one
couple of
here.
them. It's not the only place that has one,
Yeah, there's one right around here. Okay,
but yeah,
so
it's really good. But me and Mercy like going to the
That's
Sewer one. No.
yeah, I was gonna
the
drag
good thing
my
about
mom there because she likes that sort of thing.
it's the good thing about small towns is every small town, as far as I know, has something going for it, like a good Thai place randomly, or
Mm.
I'm not super familiar with small Japanese towns, of course. My life is a lot more like Taki's. In fact, I was
But
like, wow, this is a
I was
lot
going to
like
move
my
on to
life.
that because I guess the other
Yes.
side of this, as you two who did grow up in the big city, was
I
there
grew up
any
in the
like
burbs.
longing for
The way
the
it kind of
countryside?
works is that no, I grew up, think in terms of the city limits are about I don't know, like a couple of kilometers away from where I grew up, like
Mm.
south.
And I
And
had like
then
10 for me.
there was like a big giant shopping mall that was, walking distance from where I live. So I was like pretty close, like striking distance to the top end of the city. Matt grew up about 10 miles north. I forgot my conversion. Several kilometers north of where I grew up. The thing is that the way the public school system worked is we sort of our schools fed into each other, or like I was in school with Andrew, who lives across the street from Matt, but Matt was a different school than we were. So yeah, we were sort of on the outside. But the funny thing is people who've moved to Atlanta in the like Atlanta's been just booming, like exploding for literally my entire life. So
Mm.
I got in an argument with people.
Well, yeah, since
Someone
the
said that,
Olympics, right?
yeah, before that even.
So I was
It's like
making a real dark joke.
oh yes, of course. Yes, it started blowing up real. That was a weird. It was weird because when that bomb went off, nobody I knew was at the park, but everyone I knew was there all the time. The rest of it just randomly happened the
That's
one day that
because one
nobody
of
was
your
at the park.
friends time traveled back in time and
Yeah,
told
Yes,
you all not to go to
I
that
was at
exactly.
I
park.
Mark, were you with me that
Perfect.
night? I actually was at the bomb spot that night, but we left like an hour before it exploded.
I guess that's I no, I think I skipped that night. I think I was just like, I'm tired. I've been drinking for 12 days, even though I'm in 19. I'm gonna stay home tonight. Um, no, but what was I saying? Oh yeah, I got in an argument with someone on Reddit saying that like where Matt lived was downtown, and I was like, it is not downtown. That's insane.
That's not
They're
downtown.
basically like I called it the suburbs, and people got mad at me. I got
It's
like
the
6
suburbs.
downvotes.
I made like
Not
my first
anymore,
post
dude.
on Reddit ever, and people immediately started arguing me about some minor point in the middle of it. I was like, "Oh yeah, this
Yeah.
is why I don't use Reddit," and that will
Yeah,
also be my last post on Reddit.
there's plenty of reasons. I made a post about how people aren't buying the $1,200 PlayStation 5 Pro Nostalgia Edition because they think it's worth $1,200, and I got downvoted like 3 times. I was like, they're only buying it as an investment, or because they're afraid they'll have to pay more if they buy it later. Anyway, I stand by that comment. But yeah, so yeah, Matt, you didn't grow up in the suburbs anymore.
Okay. Well, it was suburbs then. But
Well,
yeah,
speaking of
the point being,
$1,200 nostalgia, like nostalgia does end up being the point of this film, and I think why it ends up being worthwhile that it's an anime because it these like all these images of like this countryside, and it can make it look, and the city as well, actually, Tokyo, it can make it look more perfect than it ever could if you're capturing it on camera. And I think then the theme of the film, right, is this nostalgia for something that maybe didn't even exist, or this of like this imagined youth, which I think is something that probably most people can relate to, especially as you start getting a little bit older and you're not even sure what it is you're nostalgic for, and whether it's just like, this, that you might have met someone.
well, I
Yes.
specifically made a note here that, well, that which part of the line of melancholia and nostalgia is it? Which I guess you gave your
Hmm.
answer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, it's somewhere in between the two, and they're not necessarily mutually
Yeah,
exclusive,
they're
right?
not. But
yeah, there is a point, and I've been kind of wrestling with this, and I'm more at peace with it now, where it's like, if you had kind of a rough childhood, you're just like, man, I'm so glad I'm not a child anymore. I'm so glad I'm not in high school anymore. High school was terrible. And then eventually you start being like, wait a minute, I miss high school. But then you're like, no, actually, I am mourning the high school that I feel like I deserved to have, but did
Mm.
not have, because probably nobody, I'm sure there are some
Yeah,
people who
no
have
one
a,
really has that
but you know,
Saved by the Bell perfect high school experience.
but you know what the price of that is, right? Like
Mm.
everyone who quote unquote peaks in high school, or not everyone, but a lot of people who quote unquote peak in high school just become miserable and when they turn 21 or something, and they're just
Hmm.
or that's not a, you have to keep growing.
Well, and
And
to go
it's
back
kind of,
to Digimon again, right? The reason I like those two recent Digimon movies is because part of the point of them was like, hey guys, maybe it's okay to take these things that you loved as a child and remember them, but also grow up and like use those lessons to live a life. And like so much other media these days is about like, hey, it's just like it was when you were a kid in the 80s and you never have to change. So
oh
having something
God.
be,
well, in this movie, it ends with Taki on like this really depressing job search, and
mm.
he runs into Mitsuha. Oh, yay, that's great, happy ending. But man, he is about to just enter the corporate slog, and she's already in it, you know?
Well, no, he means he's going to
No,
be an
he's
architect, which is what character the job that characters have in films when you want them to be a creative artist but also have a real job.
Right. But it
There
does
was a
just
period where like every protagonist was an architect because Hollywood had decided like, oh, we can have them drawing things so the audience likes them, but they can also have a real job so that we don't have to make them a loser.
Yeah, that first one that comes to mind is remember 500 Days of Summer, like
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
Joseph
yeah.
Gordon-Levitt's
uh-huh.
character in that. He's an architect. Um, he
Ted
was
in
just
How I
prepared
Met
for
Your
the job.
Mother as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess I'm saying I find the Tokyo grind, especially if you are Japanese, highly horribly unappealing, you know?
See,
Yeah,
it's
and
funny,
maybe
I just see
that's why it
that.
would make a difference to have, a young love that
I
he's gonna
Yeah, you can
Yeah, I
just
enjoy
got
that
the
go,
life with.
just going and being another person for a while is incredibly appealing if there's
Hmm.
no real consequences.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
that's why
also,
the like body swap genre is almost a genre unto itself, right?
mm,
I I kind of thought at the beginning this was going to be really like pro queer, and it's like more than I expected.
It is, yeah,
I was
for
like, oh
Japanese
man,
media, it's much more than I'm used
when
to.
yes, absolutely, and I do want to give a shout out to that, and that kind of, I guess, fell by the wayside eventually. That stopped being as
Well,
much of a
it just
thing.
becomes an extremely non-binary movie, right? Where
Well,
There's
the
one
thing where the one
scene,
guy says you were cute, And I'm like,
and
man, that's great. That's great. I can't believe
when
they did
Taku
that.
like first runs out of, I can't remember what he was doing, but he was running out of his apartment to go on some mission. I swear to God, his t-shirt was the trans flag.
Maybe.
But actually, this is a movie that regularly gets referenced with my family. We'll pass the cafe and make a reference to that. If I'm ever taking a foodie picture, they make fun of me from doing it in this movie, which there are subtle things, but oh yeah, he just uses the watashi that it sounds more feminine, things like that. There are some language things in here that
I
They
was
they did a pretty good job
curious
of
about
making it
that.
make sense in the subtitles.
yeah,
Like,
but
Yeah,
and
so
how,
technically, watashi, like those words are not gendered, but it is generally more traditional that you would say like a girl would say watashi wa, and a boy might, like teenage boys do say like ore.
and then the little kids, as you know, are always like boka boka, right? And
Yeah, because they're trying to
then
sound like tough guys. They've heard it on Kamen Rider. But like, yeah, most foreigners learning Japanese just use watashi all the time, and then it turns out there's a
Yeah.
bunch of others you can use.
Now,
you,
neither Luke and I are good enough at Japanese to claim knowing Japanese, but a lot of men that do,
I've
they learn it from their girlfriends or wives, and then people are like, "You sound effeminate when you speak Japanese."
you watched the film a few times, Matt. Have you watched it dubbed at
Yeah.
all? 'Cause I'm curious how that scene would have translated to a dubbed version because I couldn't get my head around how
Oh,
would they
sorry. No, I
put
did
that
not do
across.
the dub. I've
Right,
never
got
done a
you.
dub for this. Yeah, I just seen it a few times. Um, how do you guys feel about the music in this? In the
Oh, I've got
movie,
a
I
note
love
about
it.
this. I've got a
It
note about this.
I also have
Okay.
a note about this.
I
Outside of
wrote
the movie, I
down.
don't think I'd like it. If it's perfect for the movie, but outside of the movie, I don't think I'd be into it.
I wrote down Radwimps equals Randy Newman because
Mm.
I was laughing at all of these songs, and then I realized why. It's because just like in Toy Story, they just come in and sing the character's feelings for a little bit every
Right.
few scenes.
I
Um,
think you've nailed it for me, Luke. Yeah, my note was these songs are incredibly misplaced and tonally dissonant to what's going on. Um, like it's just too blatant. I felt, and you hit the nail on the head. And my other note was that um, I noticed like right in this well maybe about 5-10 minutes into the film, and then maybe about half an hour in after they realized, oh, it's not a dream, I'm actually body swapping.
Hmm.
I had to look it up to see if this was some sort of adaptation from like a short TV series.
It must be a light novel,
Because
right?
I think it is, yeah. But the reason I was curious is that it's a TV series is because it felt like it had like an opening, like an anime opening, like
Mm.
Yes, it was a
series.
pilot. It's pilot energy, and like a lot of anime, not Miyazaki, a lot of anime features feel like piloty. Like we're going to talk about Paprika at some point. Paprika feels like a pilot for the Paprika series. Like it's a genuine thing. I don't know how I feel about that, but I guess it helps move the story along.
yeah, I guess for me, maybe the first time again, it was weird because it's like kind of the J-pop stuff I don't like, but I guess now that I've seen the movie 4 or 5 times, it's like baked itself enough into the DNA of the movie. I'm like, yeah, that belongs there.
Hmm.
So
Interestingly,
I think it was made
Radwimps.
more egregious watching the subtitled version of the film because it brings up the lyrics of the song in
Mm.
like the top right hand corner, which made me like pay more attention to what it's saying than I
and I
would
just zoned out on
ordinarily.
those,
Right,
so
and that's why I'm watching it and
Yeah.
being like, huh, why's Radwimps back to sing the character's feelings again for us?
So
But I think if
Radwimps,
I didn't have those subtitles, I might not have found it as jarring.
maybe I didn't have
yeah,
them.
I think I didn't because of how I watched this film, but Radwimps collaborated with Shinkai in his next two movies, which has anyone seen
I
Weathering with
haven't seen
You?
them, but I for both of them I saw the trailers in theaters,
Yeah.
and I was like, huh, so he's doing Your Name again.
That's actually what
Um,
I thought when I saw the Weathering with You trailer. It might be very different, and that's cool. But yes, they try to sell it so much as like, here's more of this. It's like I was like, well, why
I
I have that.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, like the look Suzume looks like it is probably an awesome, like just the look of it. It looks
Yeah,
really
that
like
one looks
dark
more
and
whack
shrouded.
actually.
It looks cool. I'm gonna check it out at some point.
I probably will now at some
Um,
point, yeah.
I've been at some point for a while, but yeah,
At some point, that's
at some
everything in
point, at
this,
some
right?
point,
At some point,
yeah, at some point.
live your life at
That's
some
why you
point.
need to have a podcast that makes me watch things. Otherwise, I just won't.
Right.
No, you have to have someone to come into your
I'll watch
body and get
Godzilla
things
versus
done
Kong
for
like
you.
3 more times before I watch that.
Luke, you need someone to come into your body and watch movies for you, and then you go into their body and then you watch movies for them.
They'll
Do you want
write
to
it
come
down in a
into my body,
diary.
Matt?
Yeah, sure. I'll write a diary in there.
Like you wake up and then Matt's just been like playing DS RPGs in the corner.
I wake up and all my fingers are blistered because Matt's been playing guitars in my
Oh
body.
no. Oh, I thought that was gonna go a different way. So I definitely, this might be a little bit of a tangent. I definitely really identified with the character who was the Taki's, like, I guess, like supervisor at the restaurant, and I'm trying to find her name, and I'm not sure. I don't know what her name is.
Senpai is all he calls her for most of the film, so that's
Senpai.
okay. But
Yeah.
not necessarily his
Not-
supervisor, just
yeah.
same job but been there a bit longer.
Definitely completely identify with, like, I'm totally open to dating this person, but they have some crazy shit going on, like they're swapping bodies with somebody, and they need somebody from a small town who they keep swapping bodies with, which is a weird. That's such a weird thing anyway. Like you're just communicating using a phone. I guess maybe this romanticizes distance, like a lot of films do, like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, in a way where it's like the ideal situation where you know somebody, but at the same time you don't. And you know, we all know what it, sometimes you think you're in love with somebody and then you spend a lot of time with them and then you're just like, oh Jesus Christ, how do I end this, please? Maybe that's just me. But I don't know really. I don't know how to go super far into that besides it just is what it is. But you know, that's very romantic, right? Just the you wake up and you grab someone's boobs without permission, which Shinkai said that if he made that now, he would not have put that in the film. Which I think
times.
I was thinking to myself, wow, this is really innocent, and I feel like in real life it would be much worse, and I don't even want to think about it.
Well, yeah, when you're doing a body swap with 2 different genders, it's gonna get into some weirdness, and I think it's fine to have that gag in there. The fact they did it 5 times, I'm not quite so sure about.
If they did,
Well,
they
the
should have
last
put in
time's
a little
pretty
thing
funny
where
'cause it's
Taki
a-
was doing like a helicopter with his dick in the mirror.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
if she
that's
learned to
it.
do
It
a
would have been
perfect
fine if
helicopter.
they'd
Yeah,
leaned as much into both.
for sure.
Yeah, I guess one of the
Also,
things.
right at the end when he's in her body and he's like runs to save the day, and it's no, I think it's when she's back in the body, but like there's a bit of gratuitous boob physics going on. I was like, this is meant to be a high school girl. Why are we doing this?
I wonder if one of the reasons this movie was so successful is that neither of our leads really have a character. Like the supervisor, Miss Smokomoto, something like that. Anyway, she has more of a character than Taki or Mitsuha, right? I mean, they're almost ciphers, which I guess is maybe why it's so popular, because everyone can just kind of plop themselves into them, you know?
Most of my experience of anything I've seen or read based on light novels, that's how the characters are, because it's more about like I've got like 100 pages to get through this high concept. I'm not going to spend time on characterization. And
Right.
yeah, this is about that vague feeling that they both have, and that's as much character as either of them needs.
I just thought it's interesting because usually such lack of characterization would be a problem, but I don't think it is here, you know? And in fact, it kind of brings people into the movie a little more, I think, which is nice. It's cool. That's again, a dreamy movie state to be in. So
yeah, I think it depends on the kind of film. Like, if it didn't go into what it goes into in the second half, I think you would need more character. But it has enough incident that like I don't need to know any more of their backstory or like their hobbies or anything.
Because what the friends of Sakura and what's the guy's name? In the small town, there's
I'm trying to remember. It's
like Tessie?
Tessie. Yeah, those two have more character than our lead, you know.
It's like Taki's arc is
together.
yeah, it's like Taki's arc is I guess he becomes concerned about Mitsuha being dead, and Mitsuha's arc is she becomes dead and then not dead anymore.
Well, that leads into my other note that I wrote down, and I think I know where I stand on this. But is this a good time travel film?
No,
Oh, okay.
I think it is not, because there's too much. Like, if you can change the past, then what happened? Like, what I want to know everything, and it's not going to be able to tell me everything. Like, that
See,
has to have like created. Just think of I don't know. You saved 20 people's lives 3 years ago. Like, okay, maybe that doesn't make a huge ripple right away, but I don't know. That could cause 9/11 in
yeah, but
100
yeah, but we're
years
only for me. I think
too.
it did work because what I don't like is a time travel movie where it's just like my go-to example is I hate Terminator Genesis because they just use time travel to make everything okay and all the bad things didn't happen. Um, Whereas this, yeah, I guess it technically does do that, but the cost is that like they forget they knew each other, sort of thing, and it had that melancholy feel of like
Mm.
they moved to the timeline where they never met, and that was like the cost for the thing they did, and so it worked for me
I
because
guess
it
Let's
did
there's
it.
also
the time travel sci-fi and the time travel fantasy. So this one is definitely the time travel fantasy, kind of like what that
Hmm.
Christopher Reeve
yeah.
movie is, that Somewhere in Time, that kind of thing,
This is where they set it up so that, like I said, I'm fine with sad endings a lot of the time, or most of the time. Like,
Hmm.
they set it up to where I was genuinely like, I will be pissed if this does not get resolved. So it's
Right.
like they put down the foundation for, like, you absolutely demand for there to be a happy ending, which involves time travel and like violating the temporal prime directive
Right.
unknowingly.
Yeah, that stairwell
Anyway.
is like was like a major, maybe still is a major Tokyo
Yeah.
tourist
Mercy was
attraction.
telling me the
Oh,
same thing. She's like, "Oh, it's
is that
your
a real
main stairs."
place?
Oh,
That's a
Like
real
almost
most
place.
of
yeah, yeah.
all of the
All the
Tokyo locations are
shots.
real, and
Ah,
all of the
cool, cool,
countryside ones are based on things in Nagano and Gifu
cool,
prefectures. So that's one of the appeals for this movie. Just it's but everything looks familiar
cool.
because I spent time in Tokyo and I live out here. So,
Yeah.
um, any filth in this other than the boob
Yeah.
grabbing?
Do you remember in Crossroads, we were complaining that they cut away and didn't show the most difficult scene to write and act?
Yeah.
This also
Yeah.
does that. The whole resolution with her father happens off camera.
Yeah, I was about to make that point
Oh,
earlier about the like talking about the characters of both the leads being a bit bland. I am curious, like in the light novel, do they expand upon that at all? Like,
Mm,
do they get more about this relationship between Mitsuha and her father? Because, clearly in that sort of um beautifully animated montage of her life that Taki goes through when he trips and bumps his head in the cave,
mm,
um, we see obviously there's some resentment there from the family and the mum passing away and not a great familial relationship between Mitsuha and her dad. And that never really got a payoff, like you said
mm.
in the film.
But
So
like they make a whole point of like, I couldn't convince him, but maybe Mitsuha can.
yeah.
And then we see her walk up to him, and that's it. That's the last we see of
Mm.
basically any of the characters in that side of the story, apart from when we briefly see Tessei and Sakura in that cafe.
yeah. It seems like the movie makes the dad like a kind of at least a bully, right? And then they kind of shy away from ever dealing with it on any
But she
level
does.
because,
She bops out of town as quickly as she can, right? She's been in Tokyo for what,
yeah,
3 years? Once
yeah,
Well, I
it's
mean, they've all
it's
presumably
weird.
had to be relocated.
Yeah,
Okay, good point.
no,
They
they
can
live
all
in the
live at the
crater.
school. Yeah,
That'd be
yeah,
pretty cool if they're
I
just
live in the
living in a
crater
crater.
now. Hmm.
It
I guess
turns into
they're
like a Fallout town.
ooh.
I don't think, by the way, I don't think it is based on a light novel.
Oh, is it not?
No.
I've seen stuff that it was based on a lot of different things.
Yeah,
Rama
well, yeah,
one
it
half
says
was
the idea
listed.
of the story came to Shinkai after he visited Miyagi Prefecture after the Great East Japan earthquake.
Mhm.
Oh, it got a novel adaptation. Right, okay.
Ah.
And
I'm starting to bring up some 1-star reviews here.
I
First, This one's funny because Luke, the first sentence in this one is, first of all, I would give it a 6, but I gave it a 1 to counter all those ratings. So I won't read that one.
My
Aw.
arch
I,
nemesis.
I love it when they say it directly. This one says, huh, oh, they've started taking out usernames. That's interesting. Okay. Oh, no, they've moved it to the bottom now. Anyway, I have no words for how awful this movie is. This movie is many things. It's animated, it's boring, it's Japanese, but the best way to describe this movie is, for lack of a better word, just extremely boring. Who the hell thought this movie was a good idea? Well, apparently people who like romantic animated movies, that's who. The film doesn't make any sense. I've had fans of this movie try to explain, but I still don't understand. I've seen this movie several times, and not only has the film been getting devastatingly worse every time I watch it, but it has been making less and less sense. This film isn't very well paced. The chemistry between the two leads is clearly lacking in depth and emotion. And to be honest, I did find an animation error. If you look very closely, you'll see what I mean. In conclusion, this film hasn't aged well. It was very boring. Minus 10 out of 10. It's a shame I can't rate this one lower than a 1. Why do they watch it like as many times as I did?
I think he's referring to the animation era where Taki ran through the police tape
Okay.
when he
I
visited the
wow,
crater.
I had no
I
idea.
thought it was like a reference to the Simpsons bit about the itchy and scratchy xylophone, if you know what I'm on about. Boy, it's hopefully not fired for that mistake.
Oh, that was one of 2 that I had that I wanted to read, so I'm going to read the other one.
Okay.
I do want to
says-
point out briefly that guy
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of when the most recent Ghibli movie came out. There were some chodes online being like, "Oh, the magic system doesn't make sense. What's the power scaling?" And it's like, man, some people just are not capable of
What's
like
the power scaling?
vibes.
Like it's Dragon Ball.
Yeah, exactly, right. People are so obsessed with like having everything explained. But like, no, some stuff's just about vibes.
At least we know
Yeah.
Mitsuha's power ranking now.
All right. This
She
one's
could
called
beat Goku, but she couldn't beat Super Saiyan Goku.
I mean, her plot armor is pretty strong. I don't know. This one is called Your Nuts. YOUR Nuts. From 2017. 8.6 IMDb rating. All these cryptic, glowing reviews. I was very suspicious, but we go to the movies once a week and saw everything else currently running. So we gave in, bought our ticket and popcorn, $29.50, and hoped for some worthy movie entertainment. What we got was a really goofy story based on a fantasy premise, which makes you wonder what the hell is going on, and involves a comet. You'll more or less figure it out by the end, but the annoying tedium of it all isn't worth the time or money. It will appeal to the anime cult and those self-proclaimed esoteric types who enjoy claiming symbolic meaning in meaningless things. I use IMDb as a screening tool for selecting movies to invest my valuable time and money in, but all the ridiculous hype on this one clearly failed me. It's not the first time, and I increasingly find that perusing the hated it reviews is more useful in making a decision on what to see. 67 of 234 found this helpful. It's like this guy is attacking IMDb.
That's
and
good
also,
advice for buying products from Amazon. You should look at the 1-star reviews to see what the actual issues are.
That's true.
It's not good advice for like judging works of art you want to experience.
Also, the
I like-
tedium of him talking about how he's selecting movies and what he's paying for them and all that sort of thing. I mean,
Yep.
the reviews.
Also, I
has
mean,
plenty of
I gotta
tedium.
call bullshit that he's going to the movies once a week and saw everything else. Like that doesn't track. That doesn't make any sense.
It could be a
unless you-
small theater. It only has 3 movies in it.
I like
One of
their,
them was your
complaint
name.
about-
Yeah.
I like their complaint about not understanding the symbolism because, you know, the braid connecting the 2 characters is really hard to understand.
Yeah.
That is true. This
That is
on the
very
nose.
standard Japanese whatever, folkiness. I mean, everyone in
yeah.
Japan knows about red quarters.
But that's great because as a Westerner, I rarely, if ever, feel lost. Like we talked about in Princess Mononoke, where it was a bunch of symbolism that made perfect sense to me, even though I'd never read any stuff about it. So it's like that's great for us. I mean, it's not like
It is not
I don't know.
literal truth, but it is emotional truth.
it's not
Yeah,
like
but-
Scientology
I can't do a
culture.
good. No, I was trying to do Hana Herzog, but I can't do a good one.
I thought
Hana
you were trying to,
Herzog. Werner
I
Herzog.
thought you were trying to do Schwarzenegger.
I thought it was Schwarzenegger as well. Yeah.
I've been doing Schwarzenegger for 34 years. I can't suddenly do a different German.
Only one German
Herzog
at a
is
time.
very difficult. I've tried. I don't know how
I've
much
heard people who
listened
can
to
do
Herzog.
really good Werner Herzog, but I'm not one of them.
Yeah, I don't think I can pull out one of those.
Slight Werner Herzog aside, one time went round to my mates for drinks. We meant to be a very chill, casual time, and he decided to start off the evening by making us all watch the film of Werner Herzog Eats a Shoe.
Nice. Yeah,
At
that's a
least they
long
could have
one.
shown you the one of Charlie Chaplin eating a shoe.
Which one's longer? Because the Herzog one is like,
Well, it takes him
I
longer
want
to
to
eat
say
the
it's like
shoe.
10 minutes. Yeah, it takes a while.
Whereas the Chaplin one, you're now watching an hour
I
long movie.
read something that said that Paddington 3 will be based on Herzog films like Yuri the Wrath of God and Fitzcarraldo, which if that's true, then I am excited. Let's just say if you guys haven't seen those films, which
That's on the to-do list. That'll
those
never
are
happen, but it is on the
those
list. They are on the
those are
list.
Kinski. I will go into your body tonight and watch those movies, Matt. Those are great. That's the Kinski stuff.
It's all Wonka because there's nothing else in the theater.
What was that like?
I mean, I don't even know.
I deliberately saw Transformers 1 this week, and it was pretty good.
Okay. I don't know if we have it here yet. I haven't looked at
you might not.
Listing. Yeah, sometimes take, and they'll probably show it in dub only, you know.
Look will know.
It looked great. Like I didn't expect it to be like such a visual thing, but like they made the Quintessons into like eldritch horror. This is like really cool.
I've only seen it in Japanese so far, so I mostly get it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is playing here.
It's not a terribly hard to understand plot, but
no, it's one of the rare cases it came out here before the UK, I think.
Yeah, weird. Well, it's got great voice acting for when you get the English voice acting. Almost an American, but Chris Hemsworth, not an American.
I was excited when The Amazing Spider-Man 2 opened a month early in Japan, but that turned out not to be.
Oh, wow. Imagine being excited for the worst Spider-Man movie.
You're right, but we didn't know it was going to be bad a month before it came out in America.
I had an inkling, actually.
My friends, I've definitely told this on the podcast before, but the walk from the movie to the pub, it took me 20 minutes to I went through the 5 stages of a grief of accepting that film was bad. It was like trying to argue all the ways it was good until eventually we get to the pub and I'm just like, yeah, it was bad, wasn't it?
Well, as we mentioned last week, that's what Mark and I did with Terminator Salvation, but we would only do that again.
We saw it at the drive-in, and my friend Ted, like we were all roasting it. Like we didn't go there to make fun of it, but we all ended up roasting it. But like my friend Ted somehow, I guess, was louder than everyone else because the lady was verbally attacking him after the movie. He was like, "This hipster was just talking."
Damn hipsters.
Yeah, he has glasses, but he's not like really a hipster. But it's just really funny that like someone picked the one guy from our party to blame everything on. That was funnier than the movie. Anyway, that wasn't supposed to be.
I guess we should start winding this one down. Any final thoughts on Your Name?
I think this deserves to be animated. Luke was on this thread earlier, and I don't think I remembered to follow up, but I think the storytelling, the way it cuts back and forth a lot at the beginning is something we don't usually see in live action. And I mean, I wish we did, but it has like anime storytelling all over it. And you could, it's like Perfect Blue where you could make that in live action technically, but I think that the creativity involved in the anime process of, working a bunch of talented Japanese people to death gave it a little extra pizzazz. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing.
Agree with that.
It's sad.
I think the scene where like the chalk drawing in the cave almost came to life, and you had that sort of kind of watercolor effect as it went through Mitsuha's life, and just the gorgeous animation of the comet rocketing past, and really trippy visuals of like a cell dividing as we saw needs to have conceived, I guess.
Mm.
Like that whole sequence sold it for me as this is an animated film through and through, and
I
deserves to be.
think I would have enjoyed this film more if I'd seen it at certain different times in my life. Like if I'd seen it before I'd left Wales, if I'd seen it when it came out, I would probably love this film so much. Or like in 2020 when I was kind of trapped in Nagano. But over the past year and a half, I've been spending so much time in both Nagano and Tokyo that I don't really feel that longing for either of them. So I was watching this film just like, oh yeah, she's enjoying Tokyo life and he's enjoying Nagano life. I see.
I mean,
Like,
I might posit
didn't
that
quite
maybe
emotionally resonate.
maybe you're in a happy, stable relationship, so it doesn't the longing doesn't resonate with you as much anymore. I think that's like pretty
Mercy, am I in a happy, stable
natural.
relationship?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I am. So yeah, that's why.
Yeah, cool.
Oh my. No, I'm sorry. This is something else
That
I'm
was
looking at.
Playing with fire.
Fantastic.
No, I'm looking at producer J.J. Abrams is in talks
Oh,
to
making the
produce.
live action remake. That's going to be the
The
worst
film
thing
will
ever
be
made.
about a young Native American woman living in a rural area and a young man from Chicago who discover they are magically and intermittently swapping bodies.
Maybe
A film that
whatever.
features a Native American woman is pretty rare, so I got to give it
That's-
props for that at
Okay.
least.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like maybe it should not be taken out of Japan, just
It'd
like
also
how
be
the
better if she
Wicker
was
Man
fighting a
should not
predator.
have been, just like how the Wicker Man being taken out of England, like I guess it is Scotland, isn't? But
Well, it depends. Are they going to do a remake, or are they going to do Hidden Fortress to Star Wars, where it's going to take that concept and do it?
yeah,
Depends
It
how
will
much
be-
they try to make it a remake.
it's been in production hell for 5 years, so I would say don't
It's
hold your
probably not
breath
happening.
anyway.
It'll be an embarrassment thing where it'll be a Native American person who's doing a bunch of rituals and like 18 lens flares will come out while they are like
Well, it's not
chanting
directing,
"Name
but
of the
producing.
bear"
Mark,
or
yeah,
something.
they've literally only made it a Native American woman so they can do the ritual thing.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, no, that
You know,
film's going to be dog
It's-
shit.
It's being
Okay.
Yeah.
directed by someone that he worked on Ryan the Last Dragon in Kanto, so
Yeah.
maybe.
maybe.
We'll see. One Piece worked out okay. That looked like it was going to
Yeah,
be a
but
shit
that's
show.
very much the exception, not
It
the
is
rule.
yeah, okay. Good point.
That is, I don't want to give Netflix credit, but Netflix is kind of the only American company that's operating like a studio is supposed to operate, which is that they have billions of dollars and keep throwing it at the wall like spaghetti.
Yeah.
So
Just
at
Don't
least one
bother
or two
Cowboy
things.
Bebop.
Yeah, like that's one
Yeah,
out
but
of
they-
every three things I've attempted to watch has been okay. I don't know.
They
And
haven't.
they're funding JoJo anime and Doro
Yeah.
Hedoro and stuff. Like they had something to do. I don't know if Delicious in Dungeon was just on Netflix or if it was funded by them, but
Anyway, I genuinely do actually have to go catch a train.
Okay.
So
let's-
catch you all later. Jay, make sure in the plugs
Laters.
you mention, Zelda and Monster Hunter.
All right.
Okay.
Will do.
Bye.
See
Yeah.
you.
Oh,
well,
Matt, just to quote an absolute legend that we both know. Your name is fuck you.
And Mark knows the story, right?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay. I'll tell it again on the podcast. Why not? This is Luke and I both have a kid. He's about 11 now and just smart as hell, but an absolute terror. Like like especially when he's with other kids. So he'll come and just construct a working gun out of paper and rubber bands and start shooting people. But one of the new teachers came up and he's like, introducing himself. So he goes to this kid and he says in kind of like, oh, teachery voice, oh, what's your name? And kid turns around, both middle fingers up, your name is fuck you. And we're like, that's just legendary,
Gotta love Japan.
Yeah.
That kid's going places.
Oh, he's going to be a James Bond supervillain. He's going to have a volcano lair and try and destroy the world. That's what he's going to do. I have no doubt about this. Well, geez, I could be lazy, Jay, and just send it to your way and ask what's going on your end of our podcasting world.
Oh wow, okay, I will
Yeah,
take the
what you got?
reins. Yeah, well, game show is still going on every week. If you enjoy that nonsense, you can tune into that. Monster Mash, which is a podcast about the Monster Hunter series of games, will be making a glorious return shortly. I need to speak to Luke about that, but I'm pretty sure he is.
February, right? Like
That's when it's
March?
coming out. Yeah,
Marchish.
but
Yeah.
we've had a couple trailers. Luke has been or is going to Tokyo Game Show, I forget which. So he'll have some news for us there or what have you. At least I think he said it was what he was going to be doing. In any case, Monster Mash will return soon. And so will our Legend of Zelda podcast, Hyrule Field Report, as a new Zelda game literally released today as we speak. And I've sunk an hour into it, and you'll hear some thoughts on that hopefully soon. But yes, Brains handed back across, Matt.
Okay, if you want to hear those
Side.
podcasts and some other ones, head to Podcastius on Patreon. You get those, and I do ones where I'm talking about the Twilight Zone and Space
Planet of the
1999
Apes.
and the Apes. Planet of the Apes coming soon on Podcast 1999. So prepare to go ape. That's the
Yeah.
best thing. Apes in your name. Okay.
Apes. Apes
Oh,
in my
amazing.
name. I don't know how
Apes
that
is your
works.
name. Your name is Apes.
No. You maniacs. Like mic stands falling off.
Okay, I could cut it there anyway, I think. And I feel like you're just getting glitchy in the past 5 seconds. Maybe that's your mic stand though.
Me?
Yeah, because you said there was a hurricane
Doesn't
coming
sound
through, and
like
I
it.
thought maybe
I
yeah.
can't. I'm just dealing with shit like my camera keeps like falling down for no reason and I can't tighten it.
I guess that's what's happening. Okay.
And then yeah, my mic stand just got loose for randomly. I thought I was gonna lose power. I have this like contingency plan right here that I didn't have to use. So
You're losing altitude on your camera, I'll tell you that.
it's been happening. I hope nobody watches this and
I just started noticing, so
is
good for that.
driven insane by it or anything. But,
Okay.
um,
Well, as always, thanks for popping
yeah.
in, Jay. So
Yeah, thanks for
No
coming.
problem.
good one
Thanks
that
for having me.
time.
Glad we could do better than the Legend of Chun-Li this time. Or wait, aren't you coming back for Mortal Kombat or something? I can't remember.
I think the next fighting game movie, of which there will definitely be another one on the Filth list, I think I'm along
I
for
can
that.
look at the list. Next one you're up for is Mortal Kombat, probably in like 2 months.
Annihilation, yeah, the second one.
Second
The
one.
second
Uh,
one.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it. I've seen the first one. I don't think I've seen the second
Are
one.
you
So
down for anything
It
else?
won't enrage you, and it's just stupid. It's a stupid action movie from the 90s. That's all it is. It's one of those.
I've seen the clip of think Sindel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're down for
seen
Back to the Future in the distant future.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
excellent.
It'll be like
All
30
time
years
favorites.
from now when that happens. And Dragon Ball Evolution. Sorry, why'd you choose
Oh
that?
no.
Oh man.
Alone in the
Did I-
dark, and they're right
Did I
next to
agree?
each other.
That's funny because
Oh,
that it's like right next to Grave of the Fireflies. Mortal Kombat Evolution is like, or sorry, no, Dragon Ball Evolution is the other film that I've just been putting off and like trying to avoid for my entire life.
yeah, I've never seen it.
I'm gonna have to
I've
watch
never
it.
seen it. Yeah. Oh dear. I mean, I just finished watching Dragon Ball GT, so I'm plumbing the depths of Dragon Ball
Wow.
content.
I watched that in, let's say, 2002 or 3.
That
Something
sounds about right.
really soon after. There wasn't a dub yet. It was before there was a dub, and I was like, it was this weird thing where I went to the mall and the guy at the anime store was telling me all the things that happened in GT, and he like got me really hyped up about it because he thought he was going to sell me videos of it, and I was like, oh cool. And then I went home and pirated it. But it was like when you tell someone the things that happen in that series, it sounds incredible, but the experience of watching it is not.
Yeah, you made me watch most of Z, but you did not show me any GT.
No, again, it's like if I told you what happened, you'd be like, that sounds cool. But it just kind of isn't.
I kind of like the original Dragon Ball series best.
Yeah,
I agree.
It is the best.
That's my
Okay, I always
favorite.
thought Z was supposed to generally consider the best, but then I
I
went
think
back.
Z's the most popular. I think Z's what got the fans into it, but true connoisseurs, I think, enjoy the original the most. So.
I think it's like the case where Z is it's a good sequel, but not as good as the original. But it's like if you watch Dragon Ball and you know it's gonna like Legend of Korra is a good sequel, it's a better sequel than it is a series. Kind of the same thing.
I guess I'll have to start a podcast for that sometime because it's on my wall and I haven't watched it.
I keep talking about making you fucking do Last Airbender podcast. But
well, that follows the same line of logic as the other one, so it's on my wall. I should watch it.
You
There's a
really
new-
should. You won't regret
new-
watching that.
I think there's a new Dragon Ball series coming out in like 2 weeks, actually.
Yeah, it's like a chibi one. Like
Yeah, I think it's
they're everyone's kids
Toriyama's
now.
last work
You know
before
what's
he
been
passed.
playing around here? They've
I
been
have to
watching
watch it, I guess.
Zero Blue, followed by Haikyuu. That's been what's playing around the house. Sports anime. That keeps telling
Oh
Mimi.
man, I want to watch Haikyuu. I heard it was great.
Mimi will tell you to do that. Yeah. And then
I-
Zero Blue is that one was weird. It's like private soccer rivals or something are playing in this big room with like no place for spectators.
Huh.
I just saw some clips here and there. You know, she was watching the series in like Japanese or whatever. So, and I think Hana finally started watching My Hero Academia, which every
Oh
Japanese
yeah.
kid has to watch at some point.
I finally started watching Delicious in Dungeon, which is fantastic. That's
Yeah.
straight up a comedy, really, but so far, but it's
It is,
very funny.
It's for the most part, but there's some dramatic hooks to sink your teeth into. No pun intended.
I figured as much, but also it's just I don't know, a cooking show also. So it's like,
yeah.
it's got a lot there, and it's very funny. And yeah, and I don't know, this is a total tangent, but there's like have either of you seen an anime from like the 90s called Red Line? It's a movie.
That's weirdly that does sound familiar, but I don't think I've seen it.
Rings a
It's
bell.
2009. I'm sorry, 2009. It's a weird thing. Madhouse did it, and apparently they worked on it for like 8 years.
Okay, it's
So
probably like I saw posters for it then if it was 2009.
yeah, you were there.
Yeah.
Or maybe you weren't actually, but you
Oh
might have
yeah.
been here.
Yeah.
But it sounds really cool, and the trailer looks insane. So maybe I'll find some weird way to force one of you guys to do it for a podcast. I don't know.
Oh, everyone got that anime talk on Patreon. What do you know? I'm still recording. Okay.
The prequel anime to that was called Trava Fist Planet.
Ooh, Fist Planet.
Fist
It'll punch
Planet.
you.
I don't know, man.
That's what we need in Space 1999.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go ahead and hit the stop on the record then. Goodbyes to
All
the
right.
Patreon folks.